3, 2. Hi, this is Paul Casey, the Kempo Karate Hall of Fame educational video series where we discuss the martial arts and with special guests. Today, we are truly honored to have with us one of the most iconic, legendary champions of the martial arts. He is not only a martial arts champion, he is also a gifted teacher, a motivational speaker. He is also an author, and he has dabbled a little bit in the motion pictures. In other words, he's a badass ninja. So, with no further ado, welcome, Mr. Mike Stone. It is truly an honor to have you here.
Thank you very much, Paul. And I would appreciate we start our relationship with using first names. I'm good with that.
Wonderful. I'm glad you did. I was going to ask, but I wanted permission first. Thank you.
Thank
you very much. Mike, talking about your history in the martial arts, you are a champion. You have a level of excellence that you have strove for all your life. Okay? Two people that you know well that were in the martial arts were influential in that. I'm going to quote two of them right now, and you can expand on that for me a little bit. Forgive me if I have to use my glasses. I have to use glasses now. Okay, the first one is from the Zen of Kempo, and it says, combat wisdom. The opportunity may come, but only once. So take advantage of it when it does occur. Ed Parker. The other one I have here is from Bruce Lee, a friend of yours. And he says, become what you think. What you habitually think largely determines what you ultimately become. Both cases, both these gentlemen are talking about a positive message. What is your message?
Well, life is a lot easier than many of us live it. And I think the first thing is to find out who you really are. This is, to me, the foundation. Now, I'm not talking about martial arts as well, but yes, included martial arts, but life. Martial arts is just a part of my life. So the rest of the time, I'm living my experiences. So these are the important things. The foundation is simply this. Unless, well, Socrates said, know thyself. And it goes beyond the two simple words, know thyself. When they say know, they're talking about personal integrity. To know yourself means, number one, to me, to be honest with who you are. Now, it's difficult to be honest with who you are when you have no clue who you are. So many of us are floating around this little ball. And what we're all trying to do, which I don't like the word trying, but I'll use it because that's what everybody understands. What we're trying to do is we're trying to find ourselves. So instead of looking within us, we're looking outside, and the external experiences that we choose to have becomes our reality. We live from what we see outside of us. But the problem is what you're seeing outside of us is actually nothing but a reflection of who you are anyway. Your external experiences are the way you act, behave, choose, feel, believe. All of these internal ideas is really what is manifested outside in your external experiences. So if you really want to be the best you can be, not better than someone else. I don't like this idea about competition or having a competitor or an enemy or an opponent. I don't believe in that. That's absolutely nonsense. But understand that if you live in a world where 97% of the population have a particular belief system, and they are born and raised and born in fear, live in fear, that is what they're going to experience. So I've never really looked at any of the people I had an engagement with physically as my enemy or the opponent. Tell you the truth, half the people I don't even know who they were, and I still don't. I don't know their names because it didn't matter to me. What I used them for, and I don't mean it in a arrogant way, using, what they were there for was for me to figure out who I was. So all of my matches, I never considered the other person. He made no difference who he was, how big, how fast, how strong, how much experience. that was not my issue. It was their problem. So a lot of people, when you talked about fear, you mentioned it before we got on the air, that fear is the opposite of love, the diametrically opposed opposite in the physical reality, fear and love, not hate. Hate is just an emotion that is a part of fear, a lesser vibration than fear. But fear is really what we've always been taught from the time we're young. The people that loved us the most, our families, were the one, friends, family, relatives, school teachers, religion. They taught us how to be afraid. So everything we end up learning has to do with ideas like this. Get down from that tree. You want to break your neck? Don't go near the water. You want to drown? Be careful when you cross the street. Don't touch that. You want to be electrocuted? Everything they teach us is to be afraid of something. We grow up. I have clients that are 60, 70 years old, are still afraid of childhood fears that they were taught to believe was true. So this foundation that we get, and again, I'm talking about 97% of the world's population. I was blessed enough from an early experience because of my mother's death that once that happened, you know, there is so much I can tell you. I mean, I can share with you. I'm not telling you anything you don't really know. You may intuitively know them or perceive that you have an awareness of it. But the problem with that would be that you are not actually applying this internal knowledge in your daily existence. So not having the ability to apply or to actually physically use it in a way that can change the life the way you prefer, you end up just going along, making judgments and perceptions and living your life based on your fear reality. This is what everybody deals with. So you made a comment earlier about fighting. I had a student one time. There was not an original student of mine, a guy named Ron Purnell, which I think you may be aware of Ron Purnell. Well, Ron came to me one time and he was always placing second, and his fear was fighting black people. That was his basic fear. So when we had the first private lesson at Sherman Oaks School, where he was working out at the time, we sat and talked for an hour and a half, and he had his gi on thinking that he was going to learn a secret technique. But there is nothing about your physical body that I can teach you. What I really need to share with you is to eliminate all of those fears that you've had, that you are unconsciously aware that this is how you act and react to the situations and circumstances of your life. So once I dealt with that, when I found out, and again, I could only find out if you are honest with yourself first, and then honest with me when I ask a question. Finally, he admitted that he was afraid, that he felt that every time he got fighting in the finals, which would be normally a black guy from the BKF, that for whatever reason he would cramp up. He already felt he was physically inferior to most blacks he was fighting. So this was his problem. So once we addressed that, we didn't have to do one punch. Once we addressed that and changed that emotional content he had about fearing, not the, he created this idea and he was fighting that idea. He lost every time, regardless of what black person was in front of him. He fought because he was afraid. So this idea, when I realize you have a lot of things that you would like to ask me, and I do appreciate the opportunity you're giving me to speak. But I think one of the most beneficial things, if you allow me to share, is I think what you want to know is how did I create a particular mindset that allowed me to be consistently successful, consistent, not periodically. To me, someone that wins once in a while is not a champion. He's an occasional champion. But a true champion wins all the time. Now, all the time doesn't mean necessarily in the ring. But a warrior is an idea. A warrior is an attitude. A warrior is a belief. It's already a mindset that you have. Now, understand this, please, if I may. We all are who we are. Now, in this moment, you are exactly who you are now. And this is a culmination of your past life. All your experiences, you decided what part of what you learned is going to be the part that you are now. So you take and pick what you feel is the best for you because you are the most important person in your life. You are the center of your universe and you have a right to live like that, but without greed, selfishness, or hurting yourself or someone else in the process. So the idea about creating a mindset is people are always looking to become something they're not. Example, a singer wants to be an actor, a karate guy wants to be a singer. Everybody wants to be what they are not. This is a big mental setback for you. You are who you are now in the moment right now where you and I, we're in a different time zone, obviously. We're in a different location. But in truth, we both exist now. In this moment, we both exist. In this moment that we both exist is the only opportunity we will ever have in the moment we are living to die. You cannot die 3 minutes ago or 5 minutes from now. If you die 5 minutes from now, it'll be now 5 minutes from now, and that'll be called now. But in this now we are both sharing is truly, I understand, the only time I can physically leave the planet. This moment. So for me, this moment must be the most important time of my life where I actually exist as a knowable quantity in the world. In the physical world of reality, this is where I exist. So this, by logic and reason, would be the most important place and time I exist. Why? Because this is the only time I can actually die. So what am I doing with my present life? What am I doing with who I am in this moment? Not thinking about the past, what wasn't and what can never be, not worrying about the future that may never come because I may get shot in the head 2 seconds from now. But now, where I actually exist is important. So this is who I am. I am this idea. You are who you are, but you may not prefer to continually have negative examples and expressions and experiences that you're continually choosing to have. You may want to change them, but you don't know how to change them. Why? Because you've already decided who you are, and that is the person you now exist with. You can change this person. But I was thinking when I was young, why change to something else? Why not already be who I am? If I exemplify all the qualities I need to be who I want to be, and I am that idea in the moment I exist, there is nothing to change to. I'm already being, not doing. There's a vast difference between being and doing. Doing is simply the physical expression you are allowed to use on earth to demonstrate and express what you want to do. Being is a state of mind. I have power to control my state of mind in the moment I exist. So my power and my focus should never be on what I want to do, but who I want to be. And now why worry about becoming something I say I'm not if I want to become something else? But the two most powerful words any human being can use if they understand the meaning of it is I am. I am is a declaration to the universe that this is who I choose to be in the present moment I exist. This has unbelievable power, unbelievable. And people are always living in the past and the future, and by living in both times of dimension that doesn't really exist now, they can't accomplish anything now where they are. When I was fighting, I already accepted a philosophy that I am here now. This is who I am. I'm not going to try to become another idea. I'm not going to become faster, stronger, more experienced, more talented, more gifted. No, I already am this expression. So all I need to do in the moment I'm fighting is to simply express that belief. So I already created a mindset from the very first day I started training karate. But even before that, I was taught this mindset by my assistant football coach in high school,
Is that
Jimmy.
yeah, excuse me, Jimmy? You said thanks, Jimmy,
Jimmy.
in your book. Yeah.
That's
What
correct.
a beautiful passage in your book of poem. And it said thanks, Jimmy. I like it.
Yes.
I was going to ask you
Yeah.
about that.
Well,
So please.
yeah, that particular guy was the one that really believed in me, as I say in the poem, more than I believed in myself.
Mhm.
So sometimes in life, we need people like that. Why? Because as we're going through our evolutionary life, we don't have the confidence, we don't have the courage to be honest with ourselves. And this is where we falter. It's faltering because we're making negative choices and decisions. And we know what happens every time we make a choice. There's results, outcomes, and consequences. The difference is results and outcomes are immediate, pretty much immediate reaction to your choices. But consequences can last quite a long time. You may never feel the consequences until 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years later, but you will have to pay the price. So it behooves you to be wise and have some wisdom and forethought. That means conscious awareness in being present when you are alive and present. That means focus on who you are, where you are in that moment. So if people did that, I really believe that they would reduce 90% of the difficulty they express in life, all of the problems, the hatred, the envy, the jealousy, the greed, the selfishness, all of this negative thing will separate when you already know who you are and that you are created out of love and light. And this is you were a spiritual being before you became a human being. And you became human actually before you became a human being. A human being is a human becoming. And that's what you're doing. You're evolving. But you're born at that age being human. But your evolution to be a human being is the changes that you choose to go through. You have a question?
Yes, I do. I was going to say, is that based on fear? Is that why we have fear? Because we think we need to conform to something, or we have this image instead of just being who we are?
No, you said the right thing, but maybe in the wrong sequence.
Okay.
It's the fear that we accept first that now creates all the circumstances we don't appreciate. So when I said when we were born, what we were taught, the impressionable times of our life up until 7, 8, 9 years old, this period is where we were taught to be afraid of everything, of everybody. Be careful. Don't talk to strangers. Don't take candy for strangers. Watch out when you're walking home from school. These are all fears. At that age, we don't realize we forget them. Not truly. We intuitively know the truth, but we have simply forgot that we are not focusing on who we are in the moment. And who is that? We are love and light. What we need to remember throughout our life is to remember by asking yourself these questions. Who am I? Well, my simple answer to that is I am love and light. That's who I am. Where do you come from? I come from the world of the absolute. I come from where there is no yet, at that moment, there is no physical reality. I am pure energy, pure consciousness. I am the same stuff that the universe is made of. A part of me, when I became human, born into the human reality, this energy was a part of my existence. Now we can call it hope. When we go through life and we get disparaged and everything and down and depressed, well, I still have hope. Well, if you look at the word hope, it's not really a positive word. Maybe not. This is our perception of the definition of hope. But it is through despair and uncertainty that we create the word hope. That means before we can hope, there is despair and uncertainty that we are experiencing that now we said, okay, what do I do now? Well, I still have hope. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
The precursor to the idea of hope that you perceive of as being positive it comes from a negative experience. It comes from despair and uncertainty. That's what produces your idea of possibly having hope in the future. But it comes from a negative influence. It comes initially from despair and uncertainty. You understand?
Yes, sir. I do.
So that's where the idea of hope comes from. It comes from a negative impression already. So you have to think of, how do I get out of this uncertainty and despair? Oh, I know what. I will think I have hope. But the origin of hope is a negative impulse.
Okay, I get that. I follow you exactly on that.
Okay, if you don't, you may have to think about it for a while. And if you are honest within yourself to perceive what the energy represents, you will find out, if you go back through your life experiences and find out the times that you were wishing I had hope, or I wish this would change, or I will, whatever your idea about hope was, go back before you were wishing about the hope, and you will find that there was uncertainty and despair that triggered your idea of wanting to have hope for the future.
Sure.
Anyway, just a thought.
No, it's
Just
a
a
beautiful thought. I can relate to the idea of fear, not as myself, but the fear of the loss. The fear of the loss. In several years ago, it'll be 2 years this March, that my little girl passed away. She was a child of special needs.
Yes.
From the day she was born, she was beautiful. And to the day she died, she was beautiful. But I was told she would not live long because she was a child of special needs. They couldn't figure it out. But I knew one thing. She taught me there is just no perfect life, Mike. They're just perfect moments. And that's what I reflect on. And that's what I embrace. And right now I'm having a perfect moment with you because I'm having a lesson in what I think is a very positive, strong mindset to identify the issues in hand and not allow that negative force to take over me, and rather to focus on that which is what I am.
Yeah, the only way you can do that, if I may, is for you to be present. You cannot focus on anything. You can focus on a lot of things, but that's not focus. That's now chaos. Focus can be only in the moment that you exist, which is this moment now. So if you want to make any changes in your perception of time, called the future, setting goals, I don't believe in setting goals. I believe in bringing my goals into my present life. I don't set a goal away from me. I don't say 6 months from now, a year from now, I want to accumulate, I want to have, I want to do this. No. What I want to be, do, and have, I will attract it into my present life. So there's no waiting. Example, when I first started karate, my first day, my instructor said it'll take me 6 months to get, 5 years to get a black belt.
Right.
That was the common perception, not only of my instructor, but of all black belts in America. Everybody that was teaching that came from the Orient, whether it was Japan, Okinawa, Korea, Japan, China, their perception with Americans coming back to teach the arts, you can't let these people, they need at least 5 years experience because they thought we were inferior to the Orientals. So they need at least 5 years, not so much to do it physically, but to have the comprehension of what they're learning. So this is what they gave the 5 years for. I was told this my very first day. My instructor said, I don't know what you guys think about taking karate, but I'm going to tell you this first, right off the bat. He was honest. It's going to take you 5 years to get your black belt. But as soon as he said that, I had already created a mindset in football and other sports throughout my earlier life. And I said, no, it ain't taking me no 5 years. I can do it right now. And the way I rationalized it was every moment that I had a class with my instructor and he was right in front of me, when he got into a horse and stuck his left arm out, I could imitate him. I could get into a horse. I was 19 years old. He was 33. I could do anything physically he could do. There was nothing he could do that I couldn't do. I could do everything he could do at 19. So all I had to do was simply emulate his physical movements. I could do that. But now the mindset was that I had a gift he wasn't aware of. And that was, I believe, you made a quote earlier about the second person. You said Bruce Lee said something. Well,
yeah. but that's, yeah, exactly about
Yeah, well,
focus.
that quote actually came from a book I actually introduced Bruce Lee to. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So that partial of that quote came from that book, but that was the book I turned him on to in 1966. So that idea is that when I stood across from my instructor, everything he did, I could copy that. I could do what he did physically. So in the moment, I simply said to myself, well, wait a minute. He's a 4th-degree black belt with 14 years of experience. I'm starting day one with no experience. So I don't care about experience. I don't care about how fast, how strong, how powerful, none of this means anything to me. Now, when I say this, when I give my seminars and I talk to other people, nobody can grasp what I'm saying. They have no idea what I'm saying because they could never imagine themselves being able to accomplish this in the present moment. So when I'm there, I could do physically what he did. But my belief was, I will just copy him. I'll do what he can do. I will believe in this moment I am a black belt. I'm not going to become one 5 years from now. I may never get there. In fact, he said the same thing. He said, you may take it for more than 5 years and never get your black belt, which is true. But in the moment I am punching and kicking, can I be my best? Absolutely. In fact, what other time than that moment can I ever be my best? It can only be where I exist.
That moment right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So in that moment, if I think, feel, express, act, believe I am a black belt, then I am a black belt in that moment. Now, to show you how powerful this idea is, 3 months after we started training, I'm still wearing a white belt. He gets an invitation for us to fight in a tournament in Tulsa, Oklahoma, sponsored by a guy named Blue Angel.
Blue Angel.
That's my very first karate tournament. So before going there, he said, listen, Mike, we have an invitation to fight in this tournament in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Who would like to go? Well, I'm very competitive. I just got out of high school several months ago. I'm still in the best shape of my life. So I simply said, I'd like to do this. I had done team sports, but now I wanted to see I wanted to see how I measured against myself, not against another guy. They're going to change the people every time, but I have to be consistent. I will not change. If I do change, I have a problem. If I change my belief, if I change my honor, my respect, my integrity within myself, when I change that, my results are going to change. That must be consistent. So that's why I won every time, all the time, because this is who I am, not trying to become, not waiting 4 years, 5 years. So 3 months after we had did our training, we went to Tulsa, but before we went there, he says, Mike, we have a couple problems. I said, we have a problem? I don't have any problem. So what's the problem? He said, well, 2 things. I want you to enter 2 divisions of competition, and it's $5 a piece. And that time I'm a private in the Army, so it's like $10. And I said, well, I don't know if I want to. I've never paid in my life to that point. I've never paid to play at anything. I've never paid a fee to enter anything. My whole life has been fun and plays. So when he said we had to pay, I was thinking, well, gee, do I want to spend the $10? Then he said the magic word. He said, Mike, they're giving away trophies. I said, what? Trophies? Well, I remember my first trophy I ever won. I was an all-star basketball player in the 8th grade, one of the best players on the island, selected as the first team all-star as a basketball player. That's my first trophy. When I got that trophy in the 8th grade, I looked at it and I said, wow, somebody appreciates my time, effort, and energy and belief in who I am to become the best basketball player I can be. That was a symbol. That was a reward for my efforts. So when he said trophies, I said, where do I pay? I want to get a couple more trophies. Now, literally, when we went there, he said, but there's another problem. I said, now what? He said, I know you're a white belt, but I want you to get experience, he says. I said, experience, okay. So I'm going to allow you to wear a brown belt to fight. and to do kata. Now, my first thing was, like we talked about, fear. I was thinking, holy shit, I've only been in it 3 months. And I know the people that are teaching karate or already are brown or black belts have at least 2.5 years of experience.
Right.
And these are not kids my age. They're not 19 years old or 18. These are grown men, 30, 35, that have come back from the Orient and they were training. They're hardcore military guys. So my first thought was being afraid to fight these older men because he wants me to get experience. So when we went there and we went to sign up, there was a lady there that was taking the registration, and we went there to apply. And he went up and said, "This is my student, Mike Stone. He's the brown belt." So obviously she didn't question him. So, okay, we signed the application. Before I paid the $10, I said, "Before I give you my $10, can I go in the gym? Do you guys have the trophies here?" She said, "Yes, they're in the gymnasium on the table." I said, "Before I give you my money, can I go and look at the 2 trophies I will take home?"
Nice.
She thought I was nuts. She looked at my instructor and said, "Who is this guy?" So I went into the gym. I walked down all the rows of trophies. I found first place brown belt kata. I picked it up, looked at the name tag, said, "Wow, this is beautiful. For only $5, I'll take it." Then I put it down and looked down the row again and found kumite, sparring, brown
Right.
belt first place. I picked it up. It was identical to the kata trophy with the exception of the nameplate. One said fighting, the other said forms. So I had to rationalize, why am I going to pay $10 for 2 trophies that look identical? So I said, well, I need bookends. A little joke. A little humor.
Do you have any books? I know you do now. I've seen them.
Quite a
They're
lot.
wonderful. By the way, your writing is incredible. So go ahead, continue on.
So I came back and I paid, and long story short, I walked home with those 2 trophies. But at the end of that tournament, I was approached by a gentleman named Alan Steen from Dallas, Texas. And Alan Steen was going to sponsor a month later the United States Karate Championships. And Alan Steen is a student of June Rhee.
Mm-hmm.
And Alan's number 1 student is a guy I competed against several times, Pat Burleson. So the following month, we went to Alan Steen's tournament, and I asked, how much is the entry fee? And he said $7. So I said, $2 more than the other one. I said, are the trophies bigger? He said, yes. I said, how much bigger? He said, about 4 inches. I said, well, $2 for 4 inches. I think I'll take 2 more, thank you. So I walked home with 2 of those trophies. Now, while I was there, his instructor, Mr. June Rhee, was a month later sponsoring the Nationals in Washington, D.C., Arlington, Virginia.
Right.
So he invited us. But while he was in Texas, when he invited us personally, I asked him, what is the entry fee? He said, it's $10. I said, how big are the trophies? He said, oh, about 6 or 7 inches bigger than the ones I just won in Dallas. So I said, good, I'll go get 2 more, thank you. So we go to the Nationals. Now at this time, from the day I started, it was now 6 months from the day I started. I was still a white belt, masquerading as a brown belt because my instructor wanted me to get experience. So now the 6th month of my training, we're at the Nationals. I go there, I look at the trophies, I take 3 trophies now. I take the brown belt kata, sparring, and I was given a friendship award by 4-star General Curtis LeMay of the Air Force. So now we're flying back home from Arlington to Arkansas with me and my instructor on the flight. And I noticed he hasn't been smiling for a while. So I said, Sensei, what's the problem? He said, oh, nothing. I said, are you happy for my success? He said, oh, yeah, no problem about you. But, you know, while you were having fun kicking people's butt and not going to jail, some people approached me. And I said, what do you mean approach you? Well, there were different people that represented different organizations in America at that time. And they came to me and they said, Mr. Peters, is Mike Stone your student? And he said, yes. Is there any problem? They said, well, Mr. Peters, we know you're 4th degree black belt. We know you just returned from Okinawa to start training in Arkansas. And we were just wondering, though, anytime somebody says this to you, Paul, we were just wondering, be
Yes.
careful.
Okay.
So they said, we were just wondering that, we don't want to accuse you or anything, but, it's kind of hard to believe that this guy is a brown belt. We believe he's your top black belt, that you demoted to a brown belt so he could win all these tournaments. My instructor was flabbergasted. He said, what? Is that what you guys believe? They said, yes, this guy is not a brown belt. He said, no, he's not. He's a white belt. What? He's a white belt. This is his 6th month only. Oh, come on, don't bullshit. No, it's the truth. I just let him wear a brown belt so he could get experience. He's really only a white belt. They said, well, Mr. Peters, you have to promote him now or he won't be able to fight in any more tournaments in the country.
Beautiful.
So on the flight back, he says, tells me this story. So he says, now, Mike, I have a dilemma. I said, what's her name? He said, no, not Delilah, dilemma. Just a little humor for you, Paul.
Yes, I saw that. Okay. My.
Okay, so,
Oh, Delilah. Okay, go ahead.
so I said, so what's the problem? He said, well, do you remember what I told you the first day you took classes? Now I pretended like I forgot, but I knew what he was getting to. So I said, and I wanted him to say it. So I said, no, I forgot. Why? What did you say? He said, remember your first day? I said, I don't know what you guys think about karate and being a black belt, but I guarantee you it'll take you a minimum of 5 years. And even with 5 years, you may never get it. Remember me saying that? And I pretended like, yeah, vaguely. He said, well, now I have a problem. I know how much you have an absolute passion for what you're doing. I can see it. People can feel it. You can taste your persistence, your desire, your drive. I mean, you just exude such a quality of energy that everybody can feel it when you walk into the arena. Like, who is this guy? And that's the truth. So he says, I know how much it means to you, and I would hate to be the one to pour cold water on your passion. So he said, when we get back to the post, I'm going to write you out a certificate for being a black belt. Now, I said under my breath, I didn't want to say it too loud. I said, it's about time.
Wow. Good for you. You know what? That's what makes you a champion. Boy, oh boy. You have that mindset, and it just, there's certain people that walk in a room, and you're one of those guys that just, it's charismatic. You can tell that this person is, and it's a positive force. So you now become a black belt under Mr. Peters, or Sensei Peters, and you're in Arkansas, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When did you make the pilgrimages from there to Southern California to compete at the internationals?
Okay, I was still in the Army at the time. So
Okay.
when I went first to Arkansas, I had 2.5 years left of my 3-year enlistment. So I had gone to 8 weeks of basic training and 6 more weeks of finance school. Then I spent almost a little bit more time before I met Herbert Peters in Arkansas when he was transferred from Okinawa. So that's where we met. That's when I started training. So after that, my very first black belt tournament was the internationals. So after he promoted me to black belt, my very first tournament was the 1964 internationals.
Was that by invitation, or did Mr. Parker see you, or how did you hear about that tournament?
No, Mr. Parker already met me a couple of occasions at these other tournaments, the Alan Steen's tournament, at June Reed's tournament. So Ed Parker already had his eye on me then. Now I'll explain a little bit later when I talk about Mr. Parker and me teaching at the Pasadena school. And my student was Danny Inosanto, who was just a brown belt then. So anyway, yeah, my first tournament as a black belt was the internationals. Now I'll tell a little story if I may deviate. Would that be all right with you?
Yeah, please. This is very interesting and very informative.
Okay, this is about Bruce Lee. The first time I met him was at the internationals doing an officials meeting the day before the finals. So Bruce Lee was introduced by Ed during an officials meeting that we had to talk about the rules. And when Ed Parker introduced Bruce, Bruce stood up and talked for a few minutes. Now, when we talked about, you said when someone walks into the room, they have charisma. Well, at the time I did, I was pretty much all alone. So it was considered arrogance and cockiness, the same attitude that Bruce Lee had. He was considered arrogant and cocky. If he's your friend, he is confident.
That's exactly my word.
All
Yeah,
right.
that there is a big difference. Confidence
Of course.
knows you're going to do it. Arrogant thinks you can do it. You can do it.
Well, the other thing is you have to remember it's you're simply projecting an energy. So you are responsible for projecting the energy, but you're not responsible for the perception people have about the energy you project. So people can perceive my energy as arrogance and cockiness. But if you are my friend that train with me, you know that's not. That's just pure confidence. You understand?
Oh, absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Okay, so there's a distinction we have to make when we're talking about this energy. So anyway, when Bruce was talking, he started to say things that I went like, well, holy shit, because he now was knocking everybody. All the Japanese systems, the Kung Fu systems, other than his style, were all garbage. All the Japanese systems, the Taekwondo, all of this to him was, it's nonsense. They're doing crap. His system is the one. So when he was so outrageous to say that, he initially, his reputation was dirt. He offended everybody. He offended everybody. And he started that day at the internationals.
Were you
But I
offended?
got to know, I'm sorry?
Were you offended?
Not at all.
Good. Okay.
I'm about to tell you what happened. Yeah. So when he was saying that, I was looking at him and I was thinking to myself, wow, this guy has a big effing mouth. So I wonder if he can back it up. So I'm looking at him talk, and then he started to say things. I realized at that moment that even though I'd been in it a short time, I also was questioning. I was questioning what I have experienced already, and I'm only 3 months in it, and I'm fighting people that already have 2.5 years of experience. So I'm wondering, what the hell are people learning? Who's teaching them? What are they teaching them? You understand?
Yes, sir.
So when Bruce started to say this, I immediately hooked up with him and I said, like, I like this guy. This guy has the courage to say what I've been feeling, but don't have the courage to say myself. That means to argue and to object to what I have experienced personally in fighting these tournaments already. And all I see is crap. I don't see anybody good out there. So I'm wondering, what are people teaching? And Bruce was right. I hooked onto him right away and I gravitated to him. And because Bruce and I was too much alike, too much. We shared the same philosophy about reading, about poetry, about philosophy, about fighting. We were as if one person. When he talked, now let's continue the story, if I may. So the next night, I fight in the internationals and I won the championship. After that, 4 people went out to dinner: Ed Parker, Jung Rhee, Bruce Lee, and myself. We went to Chinese dinner to celebrate my success. That night, Ed Parker and Jung Rhee are talking business, promotion, and all the things they talk about. Bruce Lee off to the side. All we talked about was fighting strategy, a mindset. And Bruce already saw when I fought that night. He already could see the power I had. Bruce Lee even said on a couple of occasions from different people that I respect that they will not lie. Leo Fong, Danny Inosanto said, Bruce Lee said to them, the only guy I would never want to meet in a dark alley is Mike Stone and Jim Harrison. Everybody else, no. Because he knows that will not be a tournament fight. It's not going to be tagged. It's going to be somebody will have to leave and somebody's going to still be lying there. And Bruce could feel that energy. I'm the only one of the top 3 that he has that has an actual certificate from him. I have it on my wall.
Beautiful.
Why didn't he give Joe and Chuck any?
I wouldn't know that, but I will ask you this. Because of that mindset that you have same in that, is that when you start to incorporate those things that you felt were the strengths that you could use in your martial arts competition? For example,
no, I was already using it. Are you following the timeline?
Right. But I'm talking about there were certain things that no one had ever done before. You invented them or brought them to the tournament scene that nobody had ever seen.
Yes,
Your amazing
but
jumping sidekick, those things.
Yes, but those things I learned by watching Japanese movies when I was a kid.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I hooked up to that idea. And then when I was still in high school, a junior in high school, I would practice jumping off of a 4-foot stage where we had graduation, and I would practice doing the form I saw in a movie that I saw. So those things were just, again, you know, like we learn fear.
Right.
Okay, well, we can also learn positive qualities if that's what we want
Mhm.
to accomplish. So I focused on the things I wanted to become that I wasn't. So my mindset already on day one training was not something new. This is who I already was. I am this idea. I'm not trying to become something I'm not. So this is a big distinction. People don't, as simple as it sounds, the way I'm expressing it, as easy as you understand the words, the meanings of the words I'm using, still you're going to miss the whole thing because you cannot apply it within your personality now. In the moment that you exist, it is a foreign idea. That means it is outside of your realm of awareness and reality. So what? So you cannot be like that. You're still working to become that. I don't have to. I am that.
Mhm.
I don't have to become something I'm not. Everybody is always acting to be like they want to be something, but they're not that. But if I am that idea, then that is my expression of my reality in the moment I exist. So I'm not trying to be good. I am the best I can be, not better than you. There's no competition ever. There was never competition for me. I'm
Mhm.
kicking your ass. End of story. So
Period. Yes.
if you think differently than that, then stop me if you can. And they can't do it.
Well, I love it. One quote that you said, I'm going to hit you as many times as possible, and you are never going to hit me. I'm paraphrasing it,
Yes.
but it's exactly you, the way you are. And so you're exchanging ideas with Bruce Lee. What are the things that you find that were very similar that you might want to share with us?
Well, again, it's all the things that I'm sharing with you,
Mm-hmm.
all the things that you already believe about me through your perception or what you've read. You don't really know if it's true personally, maybe, but
Mm-hmm.
this is what you hear. So it must be they're either lying or they're all pretty much telling basically a truth that they perceive of is who I am, but they don't know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So Bruce was the same way. The way I was talking and sharing with him, you have to remember something, please, if I may. Bruce Lee at that age, at that time, was also learning. Bruce Lee was trying to develop his own system. It wasn't complete Jeet Kune Do yet.
Mm-hmm.
He was even in the very beginning stages. That's why he wanted to train with myself, Joe, and Chuck, so he could have immediate access to the martial arts community by having an association with the top 3 fighters of the time. That was his ticket into it, even though initially he created chaos and confusion and people resenting him. But by asking, well, listen, maybe we can train together. You come one day, you can. And I went with him. The truth is this, my friend. After the first day of physical workout, we never did any more physical training. It was only my first day. After that, he realized maybe who I really was. And the only thing he did after that, it was physical. He actually tried to teach me some kung fu katas. That was it. No more punching, no more kicking, no more. I cannot practice sparring. Now, if I tell you that in all the years that I have training, I have never practiced sparring, practice with anybody. Why? I do not practice. I fight.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is not, no. My reality was when I started this that some people tried to knock my head off. They tried to hurt me. That's not going to happen. Now you may have rules. You may have rules that you change. You go to a different tournament. You change the rules. No contact, light contact, no hard contact to the body is okay. If the guy bleeds, a warning. The guy bleeds the second time, a point against. These are bullshit.
Right, right.
You understand?
Yes.
So my mentality was, no, I'm in here to do what I need to do to protect myself. So to do that, my mindset is I'm going to hit you as many times as I can without getting hit.
Mm-hmm.
That's my mindset. Now, the funny thing about that is a double-edged sword, isn't it? The
Yes, sir.
double-edged sword, meaning the first part of that expression is aggressive, right? I'm going to hit you as many times as I can. The second part of that equation is without getting hit. So there is a defensive factor, but it's not my primary concern. I'm not afraid of getting hit. I don't worry I'm going to get hit. You have to worry about me punching you in the face. That's your problem.
Right.
If you can get past that and try and hit me, here's another thing, not known. I've never been hit in my face once, ever, in competition.
Wow.
Ever. Nobody has ever punched me in the face. I will never allow that to happen. And you definitely not punching me in the back of my head, because I'll never turn from you. I want to see you punch me in the face.
I would ask you one question. There's a wonderful video of you on the wide world of sports where you are doing a live competition. And I have to say, honestly, and watch it, it's 1965. And you're competing against an individual. That must have been the fastest fight I've ever seen. It almost reminded me of watching a clip on Cassius Clay and Sonny Liston. You hit that man so fast and so quick, and he dropped, and it was over with. It was over with. Can I ask you, what did you hit him with? Because I'm telling you right now, you can't even see it. That's how fast and quick, and it was over with.
I hit him with a left ridge hand.
That's what I'm
And
guessing.
the guy I hit was Pat Burleson, Alan
Mhm.
Steen student, Alan Steen was the instructor. But yeah, it was a left ridge hand. The other guy I fought, a black guy named Worthy, a Marine from Fort Lejeune. I nearly took his eye out. So at that particular event, it was such a bloodbath that they now banned showing karate tournaments for 10 years. And I was the one to bring it back on CBS Sports Spectacular 10 years later, when we actually went to a friend of mine, again, Alan Steen, to
Right.
his US tournament that we did the tournament where it started back on TV. But for 10 years, they wanted to show it because they said that's too brutal.
Mhm.
That was the fight that turned everybody off.
Yes. It's so, I mean, it's so powerful and it's so fast. And it's like, wow, it's impressive. Uh, Gary Lee just said this. I spoke to him. He wanted to send his very best to you. He said,
Thank you.
he said to me, Mike Stone, reputation, the most brutal, devastating fighter you'd ever meet in a ring, if you were lucky to last in the ring. And obviously, with a record of, I believe it, and now correct me if I'm wrong, it's either 91 or 92-0.
Yes, but again, I have to qualify it in a sense to make it easy, because you have to remember too, at that time, nobody kept records.
Okay.
Nobody took statistics of who fought when, where, why, and how many times. So it's and I don't know really where the number came up, tell you the truth. It was in a magazine, it was in a poster, it was in something somebody put, and even I was like, oh, really? I was not aware that I had done that. So what I did is several years ago, I explained my record. So I'll explain it to you this way. I have never lost in individual black belt competition. I have lost 3 times. In the very first tournament in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I was fighting as a brown belt, but they had brown belt, black belt, and white belt fight in a round robin for the grand championship. Alan Steen was the black belt winner of that tournament. A white belt, I don't know who he was, and I won the brown belt. So the 3 of us fought in a round robin, and Alan Steen hit me with a sidekick, and he won the grand championship. But in individual competition, in special competition, like a special team thing or something like that, I lost by disqualification against Victor Moore in Los Angeles. And I fought in a tournament in Utah that 4 of the 5 officials were wearing the same patch and the same school of the guy that I fought. I hit him so hard 3 times, I dropped him to his knees. I still don't know this guy's name. So if he was that good, how come he's not known?
Right.
So I was I supposedly had lost to him, but there was a friendship trophy given by a guy named Simon Orloff from Canada that brought a round bowl,
Mm-hmm.
the silver bowl that was going to be awarded to the grand champion or the champion of that event as a friendship award.
Mm-hmm.
But even though they said I lost, when 4 of the 5 people judging, even if I knocked this guy down several times, knocked the bread out of him where they had to stop the match for a while to have him recover, they declared me the loser. And they even said that, well, I was hitting too hard, but I said, to the body, you can hit as hard as you want, my understanding. So he couldn't take the body punches. But after that, we lost. But now when they were going to give at the award ceremony this big cup from Canada, the guy said, I know we said we're going to give it to the guy that won, but we cannot do it in good conscience, so we're going to give it to Mike Stone. So they even gave me the award that was supposed to be to the guy that won because they felt he did not win. And those are the only 3 times I've ever lost in my career. I do not have in my house anywhere a second place trophy. None. Not in kata, not in fighting.
Beautiful.
So
Let me ask you this. Take us through the second year. Now you've won the initial International Karate Championships. You're now the first. You're the pioneer. You've set a standard. And now you're in your second year. What was that like?
Well, tell you the truth, I didn't like it.
Okay.
And the reason I didn't like it, I felt I was cheated by just being seated into the finals to defend my title. I didn't think that was fair. I think it's a new year and everybody else has a new opportunity to win. That means the people that signed up to fight in the eliminations. I felt I should have fought in the eliminations. I think that would have been fair. So, but that was the policy that Mr. Parker instituted, and that's what they wanted to do. So that's what they did. But I wasn't very thrilled about that. I love the people I fought, Tony Tolliners, Harry Kialanui. In fact, I fought a gentleman from Utah, 6'5", 260 pounds, Mills Crenshaw. I fought him in the first
Mills Crenshaw, yeah, Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I fought Mills Crenshaw in the first international, 64, and Mills Crenshaw had just beaten my instructor, Sensei Peters, the match before I fought him. So imagine how fate happens in the universe. That if my instructor had beat Mills, I would have had to fight my instructor, which I never would have done.
Right.
So the fact that Mills beat my instructor, I fought Mills to went into the grand championship. So fate has a way of working itself out, energy in the universe.
You write, there's a beautiful passage that is in your book, and I have it here. And I like to refer to, because most people think of the martial artist, as just the guy that gets out on the mat and punches and kicks and whatnot. And if occasionally he thinks whatnot, but this book of yours, Transforming My Reflections. I spent the time looking through it, and I'm just going to mention titles, and then you can come up with it, because they're very powerful. And I want to deal with this. It's basically one thing that I thought was very impressive is your description of the artwork in here, as you called it, your pen's word art. Your pen's word art. It was
pen sword.
Oh, pen sword. I'm sorry. I need to read better. Forgive me on that, sir.
Okay.
And you see this, and
Yes.
can you? It comes from somewhere deep within you. The way you explain it, but I think you would do it more justice by saying a little bit about it. There's so many different pieces in here. Maybe you can explain a little bit of that.
Yes. One of my early passions in the martial arts was doing sword work, sword fighting, kendo.
Yes.
So this is what my passion for that is, what started me to get into the movie business by doing sword choreography for the ninja films. So the pen sword art was an idea that I had. It's through imagery, imagination, and creativity. So what I would do is I would hold my pen like this. I would hold it as if it's a sword in my scabbard on my left hip.
Right.
I would put a piece of paper, writing paper, like this size. I would put it down, and I would put my hand with the point of the pen down as if it's the blade of the sword. So I would touch the paper, and I would close my eyes and make a cutting stroke. And I would simply just effort, and I could never imagine that, to show you how powerful we all are. When I put my pen to the point of the paper and I make this cutting stroke, an actual cutting stroke I would do with a sword, I would be within an inch of all the way around of the paper, and my pen would never cross over a 1-inch border. I would always be within that, and I'm doing it with my eyes closed. So through my imagination, I could see with my eyes closed and move with my hand on the pen, which was my sword. So I call it pen sword art.
Hmm.
So I would make different cutting strokes that I wanted to imagine when I'm actually doing fight scenes. So I would use the sword or my pen as the sword, and I would create the visual path the sword would take while it's cutting. So that's how I came up with the idea.
So is it transferring what you actually saw in your mind and your body just followed that flow?
Yes, and here's the thing again. Now I'm just going to say this, not to be funny or anything, but I could literally talk to you for now for a week or two straight with all the things that I've thought about and come up and I've applied. So one of the things is that, like all of the poems, can I get off the track a bit?
Sure, you can go in. This is so wonderful. This is an insight. This is beautiful. Please share.
Okay. So for example, you mentioned the book, My Reflections.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was 42 years old when I came to the Philippines. I had a little house. The property I'm on, I've been living here 35 years, same place. The house is different, but the property is the same, quite large property. So I came here with a belief that I had about who I was at 42. And the belief I still harbored was I was not very smart. I was not bright. I was not an intellectual. And why was that? Well, again, we go back to what I said earlier, is that we are taught fear. I was taught that when I couldn't do something, I must be afraid of it. So learning schoolwork was something I feared because I was not good at it. So the more I was afraid of doing schoolwork because I was criticized and embarrassed and humiliated for my speech. I didn't know how to write, spell, communicate. I was scared to death to speak in front of people. All of this led to this fear factor. So this idea I harbored until age 42 because I nearly failed high school because of flunking English. And the only reason I passed English was my Japanese girlfriend was the one that did my term papers. And because of that, I passed my grade to allow me to graduate. So it was her that did it, not me. So I still had this idea at 42. I was not very smart because my entire life prior to that was, oh, Mike's a great athlete. This guy is unbelievable. He's talented, he's gifted, he's natural, all of these ideas. So I naturally gravitated to that reality and that belief. So the more they praised me for my talents, I became better at it. But every time I tried to do schoolwork, they say, well, Mike's not very smart. He's a little slow. Not, athletes are jocks, right?
Right.
And
Right.
he's not a nerd. He's not that bright to even be called a nerd. So I always had this separation of my identity that I was good in athletics. And the more I was praised and congratulated and recognized for my physical skills, I became much better at it. It was natural. It became more natural. But I had this fear of trying to express myself verbally, intellectually, spelling, writing. So that day at 42, when I came here, I sat out overlooking the ocean here. I asked my wife to bring me a pen and pencil, and she got me a pen and got me a yellow legal pad.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, I'm going to change my reality right now, in this moment. Now, I've been living this reality for 42 years. Which one? That I'm not very bright. I'm not
Yes.
gifted in work. I can't write. I can't spell. I'm definitely not going to write poetry. So I said to myself, now this is within minutes, please understand. I said, well, what could I do right now that everybody who ever knew who I was would go, Mike Stone writes poetry? Are you kidding me? He's a philosopher? Are you joking? No, this isn't the Mike Stone I knew. So this is 42 years later. So now, please appreciate this, I hope. In that moment, all I had to do, very simply, is change my frequency of vibration. That means the way I think is a vibratory energy. I had to change that to a new belief that I will now adopt. I am a poet. I'm not going to be one. I don't have to go back to school. I don't need to read poetry. I don't need to go and learn English literature. Instantaneously, I will become a poet. In the moment I choose and decide, I have trust, faith, and belief. This is who I am. In that moment, I will acquire all of the knowledge, skill, ability, and talent to write poetry instantaneously, without any practice, any nothing. Now, to do this, I have to understand the process, quote unquote, I need to go through mentally to make this metamorphosis within seconds. So I don't know what you believe about universal energy and power like that, or universal intelligence or consciousness, but my belief is all thought cannot be destroyed. It can be transformed, changed, but never destroyed. So every thought that I have ever had, you too, and everybody else have ever had, when you think that energy, the more focused and concentrated, the more energy that you give the power of thought with belief, trust, faith, focus, concentration. These ideas will solidify this energy and can make it physical. So now I release this thought to the universe, which says, I am a poet. I send out energy into the universe, and that energy, like birds of a feather flock together, it is true. The frequency of energy that I emit with trust, faith, and belief that I am a poet will congregate and find all the clumps of energy in the universe have similar thoughts by other poets already. This is my password into getting into that software or that hard drive to allow me access to becoming instantaneously a poet. Why? My energy will harmonize and become equal to the energy I am seeking. That is the password that allows it to emerge within each other. I now open that incredible warehouse of storage of information on how to write poetry without ever having done it in my life the moment before. And I become equal to that. So now I simply say, well, what poem should I write now? So I know what I'm going to write. I'm going to write the poem, What's the Problem? Why that one?
Was that your
Because
first one?
everybody who, yes.
Is that your first poem? What's the problem? Okay.
Yes. So the reason I chose that to be my first poem was that everybody is always approaching me and saying, yeah, you're so gifted, man. You make it look so easy. It's like effortless for you. I said, it is. Yes, but I try so hard. I mean, what do I have to learn? You know, I put hours and hours. No, you're mistaking your value. You're trying to make the basic common denominator your physicality. And that's not your power. Your power is your intention. So I said, if you change that, now you'll change the frequency at which you vibrate, and now you can do anything you want. So in that moment, I wrote, What's the Problem? And I wrote that poem. I gave it to my wife, and 3 days later, she comes back to me and says, can I have you read something that I found?
Right.
I said, sure. So she gives me the poem. I read this. As I'm reading it, I go like, who wrote this? This guy is brilliant. Wow, what is... I
I love it.
I go, wow. What insight, what wisdom. I mean, imagine having the ability to condense such a difficult concept and put it so simple in simple words that everybody can understand. I mean, so effortlessly. She said, "You wrote that." I said, "Are you kidding?" She said, "No." I said, "When did I write this?" She said, "A couple days ago." I said, "I wrote this?" Now, here's the other trick to it. When you enter what's called heightened awareness, when you shift your energy into another realm of reality that does not exist in your present conscious awareness, that means not what I am aware of right now. This is my ignorant, stupid human self, this one. But I can change this
Right.
idea to any expression I want. So I did this with artwork. I could never draw before. Instantaneously, I am an artist.
You're
So
an
I start
artist.
drawing. Yes, I can do anything.
Yes.
I
You have
can
an
do anything.
amazing
Absolutely.
passion. It is enchanting. It draws. It really is exciting to hear your passion and of life. And what? Let me ask you this, Mike. Do you have a copy of that poem in front of you? If not,
Which one?
what's
Yes,
the
I do. I
problem?
think
You have to give it.
I will keep it.
I'm gonna give the intro on it and let you read because I think the
Okay.
listeners would love to hear it. And by the
Enter,
way,
what's the
you know,
problem?
this is in
Yeah.
Mr. Stone's book called Transforming
What
My
what
Reflections.
page is it?
Michael M. Stone. It's on page 41.
41. Okay.
I have the virtual problems situation free life, partly because I have never accepted responsibility in the conventional way. Most people think others expect them to, and because I never looked at the situations which happened to me as problems, just circumstances which were never a big deal. Often this attitude was interrupted as not caring, but that was the perception people had. Please, sir,
Yes.
read the story, the poem, What's the Problem?
Why is it difficult for us to acquire all those things in life we desire? What's so hard about getting all that? It's like pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Why is it difficult for us to think beyond the quicksand in which we sink? Don't we realize we are the source of great energy, love, power, and force? Why is it difficult for us to accept changed ideas and a new concept? Is it because we are stuck in old ways from bad habits acquired in younger days? Why is it difficult for us to understand that we can conduct our own life's band, to sing and dance to the music we play and enjoy happiness each and every day? Why is it difficult for us to realize real strength is not found in size? It's in our beliefs about who we are which hold us back or drive us far. Why is it difficult for us to believe we possess the power to achieve any goal in life we desire to attain, be it love, happiness, fortune, or fame? Why is it difficult for us to know it's only through love that we can glow and be a shining beacon to all, like a lighthouse standing tall? Why is it difficult for us to comprehend? In death, we don't lose loved ones and friends. Only worldly possessions do we leave behind, realizing their true value to which we were blind. Why is it difficult for us to think about death and dying, being on the brink? Is it the fear of the unknown or what we might learn that once through that door, we may never return? Why is it difficult for us to see death is not the end for you and me? Just take comfort to know that in death, life doesn't end with your very last breath.
Wow, how powerful. What an amazing first entry in the as a poet. You know, it is amazing what you know, I have to say, in this book, which has volumes of poems in here that are just very touching. There's several of them that stand out. Obviously, you talked about fear, friend or foe, which was very important. You also talked about the martial arts with the idea of basics and be a champion. And one of the best that I think that Mr. White really enjoyed is his tournaments of old. Tournaments of old is
Yeah.
a favorite of his. But collectively,
Indeed.
looking at all this, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it's a beautiful passage into something with his perfect moments that reflected on when you speak of it. And the other story that I thought was very interesting is your last one, the little shelling trip, a little shelling trip.
Yes,
How you talk, and then Bob
that was
tells
an
me the
amazing.
backstory on it. So it was very
Oh
interesting.
yeah.
But I think my favorite thing is that you are obviously an individual that recognizes somebody that really made a difference in your lives. And as you said, if it wasn't for Jimmy, thanks, Jimmy. I like this. Every person should be fortunate enough to have a Jimmy in their life. He was a role model, a coach, a father figure, and a friend. But more than all this, he was a believer. He believed in me. He taught me to believe in myself. I miss him very much. Thank you, Jimmy. If it wasn't for Jimmy, we would not know Mike Stone. And I got to
True.
tell you, I'm inspired by you. You have such a passion. It's incredible that what you've done. You know, we haven't even scratched on some of your major accomplishments. But I will ask you this: in at this point in your life, how do you feel about the accomplishment? What is your greatest accomplishment?
Well, I'm not finished with it actually. My greatest accomplishment, I'm in the process right now of, I have a writer from Los Angeles, and he contacted me several months ago to ask if he could write my biography. So I have a guy that I'm working with right now, and we've been working very hard for the last couple of months. We have already 31 chapters outlined.
Mhm.
We've already written about each one of the chapters. It's about my life from the time I'm up till 5 years old, from then all the way across. We take it step by step throughout my life. I will save all of my martial arts life for a separate book.
Okay.
I have a biography that's going to deal with my life, dealing with celebrities, personalities, what I did through elementary school, high school. I'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of my 10 or 15 years in the martial arts will be a separate book, all about my martial arts accomplishments,
Mm-hmm.
what I did, what I thought I contributed with doing the 4 seasons, with tournaments, with different events, with the movie industry. That's all will be in my martial arts book. But the most important book is the one that will be the third book, and that is the book on what's called the life-changing experience.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I'm talking to you about now, that all of these things that I have learned throughout, all of the mistakes, the errors, the bad decisions, the negative emotions, all of these earlier life experiences, what I've done in martial arts, all of this I owe to this third book, because what it is a how-to. I will show both in graphic design and in content in Word exactly how anyone can make an instant transformation in their life. I will tell you how to do it. Now, I've been here for 25, 30 years, 35 years here, but the last 25 years, I've been helping people that come to me from all over the world that come to do my retreat or my life-changing program.
Mm-hmm.
And they come either 7, 14, 21, or 30 days. They fast, there's no eating, of course, no smoking, no drinking, nothing. But during the time they spend, they must be here. They're not allowed to leave the property. Uh, we do maybe 4.5 hours of training per day. The other time is done for spiritual and mental training. So my program consists of a three-prong uh, attack. It's first of all, we were spiritual beings before we became human beings. So spirituality, not religion, not religion,
Mhm.
is what I'm working with. Spirituality has nothing to do with any organized religion. I want to make that clear. The second part is the mentality. This is our greatest asset and our worst enemy. It's our mind. Why? Because when we came from non-physical energy, which is life, love, and life, when we came from that pure energy and transformed that energy into physical equivalent, which is being born into the physical world of relativity, when we changed, we now had to apply ourselves in the physical world that has certain laws. So now we're human beings. In this world, we were given two gifts only. The two gifts were life and free will to choose. That's all we have, nothing more. If you have the power, which everybody has, because you came from love and light, understand? Before you became human, you were already this frequency of energy. You were universal intelligence. You were consciousness, pure consciousness. You were that already. You had to tone down your vibrational frequency to join the world of the physical. That is a drop in energy, not an escalation in energy. You had to actually reduce your frequency so you can participate in the physical world of reality, because you come from the world of absolute energy. You following me?
Yes, absolutely. I'm just trying to think of, are we trying in this physical being, are we trying to return to where we were, where we came from?
Wonderful. Wonderful. That is, life has no meaning or purpose. We are here on earth as physical beings for one thing: to experience our choices. That's it. And in experiencing our choices, of course, we need to be alive. So we're given the two gifts: life and free will to choose. Anything that comes from that is of your choosing, whether it is conscious or unconscious. You choose every experience you have. And from the experience you have, you can deduce, you can construct, you can imagine, you can produce, you can develop, you can create, which is what you really are, a creator on earth. You can create from this power that you have, the power of thought, or you can destroy yourself with the power of thought. This is of your choosing. So this is all you have: life and free will to choose. The rest of your experiences of life is up to you. It's what you choose. And from your choices, there's going to be results, outcomes, and consequences. So be careful what you choose. Know thyself. Trust and believe and have faith in you first, but be honest above everything else with who you are. Nothing can exceed, nothing can manifest in your exterior physical life that is not already a belief you have. So if you're not happy, if you have terrible relationships, if you have arguments, if you have disbelief, if you have anger, if you have hatred, if you have jealousy, if you have any of these earthly emotions, it's because you don't know who you are. And you are here simply to remember. That's why in many religions, remembrance is part of their philosophy. That means you must reconnect to that energy you were before you became human. This reconnection allows you to have a constant flow of energy with the love and light of which you are created. So if you are that now, if you remember and you become this idea, I am light and love, now everything you choose will have that frequency of energy. You cannot have problems. Problems come from someone that is not connected to their higher self. Then you have problems. So
Why
yes,
does it take for us so long to realize what you were saying?
because we have allowed our mind to create our reality. So again, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When we became physical, that means we had to transfer the energy of pure light and love, which is the most powerful vibration. It is equal to universal intelligence. If you want to use the word God, it is equal to the creation of the universe, if you want to use God as the creator. But to me, it's just pure energy. Everything, everything, everything is energy. And all energy vibrates at different frequencies. It has a particular resonance. For you to broadcast on 95.6, you must, by law, by FCC regulations, transmit at that precise frequency. When you do that, if you have a radio, you turn it on. If that broadcasts Western music, you turn to 92.6, whatever it is, and that's what you get. You get what is broadcasted at that precise energy. So imagine, this is what you can do with radio waves, with picture waves, television. Imagine what you can do with your mind. This is the creator of the radio, of TV, of computer. This is the power. What are you doing with this? You abuse it, you neglect it. What you do is you create a false image of yourself. It's called your ego. Mm-hmm. This is our first problem. We create a false identity. But what we do in creating that is we must protect our creation. And we will protect our ego and pride till death do us part. That means we will protect it even if we commit suicide.
Lord, there's no biblical passage. Pride goeth before the fall.
I'm sorry?
There's no biblical passage of pride goeth before the fall.
Yes.
And, so, you know, it's quite obvious here. The thing is, I have a little 5.5-year-old. In talking with you, I realized that I need to cultivate and help him to see that, not have him destroyed by fears and conformity of he needs to comply. That true energy, as you said,
wasn't that Bruce's philosophy, not to conform to a system?
Absolutely, absolutely.
But what happened, if I may, with all due respect to you and Bruce, he ended up creating a formula and a system called Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah.
So he went against his own philosophy. He had to create a structure that he believed in, that now he was teaching a system like he was saying people should not have. Mm-hmm. He created what he did not believe in to begin with. This is the problem. Mm-hmm. I don't have a system.
You have Mike Stone. That's what you have. Huh? You are Mike Stone, and that is enough.
No, it suffices me. It has allowed me to live a life I've chosen, and I have no regrets. Of course not. But I'm not creating a system. But everybody, listen, the whole universe has a system. The galaxies, there's timing, there's rhythm, there's balance. All of these things are a natural part of the universe as well as the physical laws of the earth. So we must understand these laws that we're living with. Man comes in and man makes up his own laws, his own rules that defy the laws of nature. And he wonders why the whole place is falling apart. Mm-hmm. His attitude, his belief is so distorted, it's no wonder the world is in its present state. It cannot be like this until we collectively choose to live a life that produces this type of a reality. We are creating this that we have.
In your opinion, do you think we will?
We will what?
Create what we're supposed to create, not what man wants?
Well, who's the one to decide what we're supposed to create? What do you mean by that? That's now injecting your own philosophy or someone else to determine what we should do. No, you should do what is the highest vision, the highest version of who you are. That's what you create. And you need nobody to do this.
Okay.
You don't need someone's permission. You can do this on your own. And if you did this, that light and love that you are projecting will overflow, and people can look at that energy and decide, wow, I'd love to be like that. Or that's not for me. We as souls, we should never interfere with another soul's choice of how he wishes to live his physical life. Even your soul, the energy from which you came to be here physically, comes and joins you only as an observer of your choices. It never interferes. You choose what you want. You want to be a rapist, a murderer, a child offender. You want to, whatever, you want to be a carpenter, a karate instructor. You choose. Your soul would never interfere. You get to choose how you want to live your physical life. Your soul, it only accompanies you as an observer of your choices. And through this, your soul gets experiences of what you are experiencing. Why? Because your soul cannot experience. Why? Because it's not physical, it's not human. But it can observe your choices and see the results you experience, and it can decide. It doesn't choose good or bad. That's a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
Humans decide good and bad. It's a judgmental idea. Your soul has no judgment. So we must be very careful in understanding this.
Do you find that in your times with the people that come to visit with you, sir, that you help them to find that within themselves?
Of course. I can give you countless examples, testimonials of people that have come here and at 56, at 35, at 40, at 31, male, female, they become a new person. I don't change them, they do. I give them the information that if they truly understand, internalize it, and apply it when? Now, in the present moment you exist, then you are an embodiment of that philosophy. But if you think you have to try to become something you're not, you're going to maintain yourself and be in problem the rest of your life.
I'm going to change gear on you just for a second. Just for a second.
Yeah.
Your energy is flowing. I can feel it. What other projects besides the books do you have in vision, or are you trying, will you be planning to pursue in the near future?
Well, the most important thing for now is to get the 3 books out.
Okay.
The 3rd book for me, the first book is my ego. The 2nd book is an extension of my ego. I know who I am. I know what I've done. I'm doing this for the readers.
Okay.
They want to hear. They want to know. So I'm not interested in this, but I'll do it because that's what the publishers need.
Right.
But my 3rd book, Life Changing Experience, this is the book. This is the one that if people, and it doesn't take a long time, it just takes an awareness, a conscious awareness, an internal reflection of looking at yourself honestly and to live in the moment, and you will make unbelievable changes. And I have proof with all the people that have been here. We are going to write all these stories. It's going to be in the last book. Testimonials from all these people that came.
I'm sorry to use time as a reference because I hate that. That's a poor choice of words, but is this something we'll see within the next year or 2, or is this it's gonna, okay, because I know that people that follow Mike Stone and those that are being introduced to Mike Stone and those that are relearning about Mike Stone are going to be fascinated about Mike Stone. And let's be honest with you, Mike, you're a champion. You are a champion, not because of just karate, but the way you live your life, the way you inspire people, your passion, the information. What I see is wisdom being shared, which is based on your knowledge, your experience, and your life. And collectively, when you look at that, that's what makes you great. And that's what people say, wow, if he can do that, maybe I can envision, maybe that's what I need to do. I need to follow with some of these statements, these words of encouragement, this passion. It will maybe make me what I need to be, what I am in the moment, not what I think I should be or what I wanted to be, but what truly I am in this moment to be a champion. And that's a champion in life.
Absolutely.
That's really where it's
Absolutely.
at. You know what? I'm impressed. You know,
I'm not. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Yeah, the reason for doing all of this, I mean, the last 50, 60 years of my life, even at the time I was winning, when I started this philosophy, I started already writing my book. So when the guy asked me he'd like to do my biography, I gave him volumes of things already. That's why in 2 months we have 31 chapters.
Wow.
What writers can write in 2 months have 31 chapters? So
not many.
I've been collectively thinking, recording, changing, having clients to come in to see how it works, what doesn't work, what am I saying that's not getting across, what don't they understand, why don't they understand. So all of these things have come down to this last book, where this is the one most precious to me, because I know already from experimenting the last 25 years that what I will write in this book will be a life-changing experience. So the title.
Beautiful. I am looking with eagerly to see this, because I have right here in front of me publications, and it is amazing. I am really grateful for your time. I know we've been talking for some time, and I wanted to say it's an honor to speak to you, Mike. You've shared a very insightful part of your life. You truly are an amazing individual. Your family must be very proud being with you, as you as with them. And I am thankful that you would take the time to spend time here talking with me. And I do look forward for us talking again in the near future, if that's okay with you.
Of course, that'd be fine. Thank you so much for your patience.
Oh, no, sir. It was truly a pleasure and honor. And God bless you. Really, you're
Thank
amazing.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
to your family. All right. Thank you. Have a great
All
day.
right.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.